press record now. Good deal. And also
Okay.
I want to make the best use of our time. So is there, as you can see, we've got quite a few products now. Is there a focus you want to do, or do you want just an overview, just a little snippet of each?
I think a little snippet of each. I mean, I know probably a lot about the Metaspore Biotics, you know, but I see you have other items, and I do muscle testing on products. So, you know, 1-omega doesn't go good with everyone. So the more I have to be able to offer them and test them on, that helps.
Perfect. Okay. So and I assume you know Kiran Krishnan, or you have seen him in a podcast or webinar.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Because if not, he's definitely worth Googling him and, you know, hearing him lecture. We've got a lot of research out there going. When it says SHIME test, that's the top of the line type of testing you need to do on a probiotic. That is a synthetic gastrointestinal tract. It's the only way to monitor colonizing organisms. A lot of other probiotic companies cannot do SHIME testing because they do not colonize. They are digested in the stomach, they work by metabolic signaling, and it's very limited. So when you see SHIME test, you know they're measuring a metabolite or a mechanism from a colonizing organism. We're doing a lot of ancillary microbiome testing on the skin, the mouth, you know, periodontal, vagina, you know, all the other microbiomes are connected to the gut. So you're helping with the background noise of inflammation, dealing with the gut, but you will also benefit from some specific microbiome direction, and more than likely we'll have a product to deal with that particular area. I know we're working on a vaginal lube that doesn't destroy the microbiome like the current ones do. You know, maybe a toothpaste in the future. We already have, you know, leaky gut study, and we've got a dog product. So, you know, the sky's the limit on that kind of stuff. We've got 3 different spore probiotics, 5 spores in the Megaspore, 1 spore in the HU58, and Restore Flora. They each, there's different ways to use them. Sometimes you'll use all of them at the same time for an overgrowth like C. diff or SIBO or MRSA or E. coli. Sometimes you'll use them individually and stair-step them. Someone with a real damaged immune system, you'd need to go start with the 1 spore, go to the 2 spore, then the 5 spore. Sometimes just because you don't know if there's going to be die-off with a sensitive individual and they've started an antibiotic or they've got something else going, a real conservative approach is to start them on Restore Flora, and you've got the SAC-B in there to go yeast against, you know, the side effect of an antibiotic on yeast. And so there's different reasons you'd use different combinations. This just reminds me to tell you that our whole approach is different than other gut companies. You know, the original approach was a search and destroy. You find the pathogen, you put together a killing protocol, and you drop an atom bomb. We want a gentler, simpler, not simpler, but kinder approach, and really utilize the intelligent modulation of these spores because they're so much smarter than we are. You know, they have quorum sensing, which is a chemical surveillance system that tells them where they are in their environment. That's how they know where to colonize in the upper intestinal tract. It tells them who is in their environment, and not just who, but how many other organisms, what species those other organisms are. So for instance, if they are in the spore form and they travel down, you know, to the gut and they sense a pathogen, they can custom build an antibiotic specific for that pathogen, come out of the spore stage, locked and loaded, and sniper that pathogen. So why would we even try to outthink these organisms? So you want to get them into place as soon as possible and let them sort things out. And we look for the signs and symptoms of how far they were able to take the microbiome and then support them. And that's what I want to teach you how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make this slide a little bit bigger so that you can see, you know, we're focused on three primary areas of the gut. Mucin 1, which is this upper, it's like a swimming pool of organisms. What's important here is the diversity and the function, the ability of the secretory IgA to locate pathogens and toxins like lipopolysaccharide. And this is where Megaspore works. It jumpstarts the keystone strains, which are the initial inoculum given to you by your mother. It feeds the good guys, the commensal organisms with metabolites, and it snipers the pathogens. The second area is the keystone strain focus. That's what the prebiotic does. Specific oligosaccharides to help the keystone strains thrive. And I'm going to say this multiple times. That's our long game. That's where we want to focus, because a strong community of keystone strains will be your long-term protection. So when your client says, do I have to stay on these gut healing formulas forever? You can say no. It all depends on your ability to build up that keystone community, because they are going to be your long-term protection. The third area is the building back of this mucin 2 layer. And we do that with megamucosa. And the reason this mucin 2 layer is so important, you can see visually, it's protecting the brush border, the underlying epithelial cells, the tight junctions, and the underlying immune system. Because when that is breached, and you can see lipopolysaccharide degrades, eats into, destroys mucin 1, and then the vulnerability of this epithelial cell layer is breached, and now you've got a flood of endotoxin and pathogens and undigested food into the lumen of the cell, and the immune system is going nuts. You know, it's releasing cytokines and interleukins, and now you've got raging inflammation. And here's the rub. This underlying systemic inflammation causes white noise to our immune system. It's like static on a TV, and the immune system is trying to hear. It's trying to hear the pathogens, and it can't tell when it's been invaded because all of this static. So the first thing you have to do to improve the immune system is damper down that white noise, that static of the immune system that's in the gut. Because when you get infected with a bacteria, a virus, you know, a COVID, your immune system's got to be able to recognize it, to hear it, to sense it. And it'll do a better job if it can hear it because the white noise is gone. Okay, this are just the summary. Healthy gut by increase in diversity, reducing pathogens and toxins, increasing mucus barrier, increase the tight junctions, and lower the inflammation. Your job as the practitioner is to figure out how they got a damaged gut in the first place, because once you go to the effort of healing and sealing the gut, you want to teach them how not to destroy their gut again. So they want to maintain this with their lifestyle. All right, if you already know about Megaspore, then you know that almost everything that you knew about probiotics before, you can throw away. That now that we have the SHINE studies, now we have the research, there's not the confusion about, do we use multiple, do we rotate probiotics, do we use it with food, without food, do we refrigerate them, do we not? It's all garbage. We know that spores survive the gastric barriers. Spores don't need to be refrigerated. Spores are given when you eat food. And what you take in, that 4 billion CFUs, is what's going to colonize. Other probiotics that say you can replace, reseed your microbiome with lactobacillus, which you cannot, but they will say you'll need I don't know, a million, a billion, a trillion, a gazillion. Doesn't matter, because 0 of these ever make it to the intestinal tract anyway. So that's all marketing. Now, in In the megaspore, you've got 5 spores, and you can see each one of these do different things. They add something. They are powerhouses, ambassadors, production managers, policemen. They all work together. They're a community. And some people, their immune system is so damaged, they can't recognize, they can't tolerate all 5 spores. And you will want to be able to recognize who these people are. They're going to be your hypersensitive, your canaries. These are the folks that they read a label and they start breaking out in a rash. They're the ones are so toxic that
that used to be me.
Exactly. And that's why you probably attract those people to your practice, because you're meant to help them. So, that's why every protocol, you've got to divide everything by 10, and start them 10 times slower and use 10 times less, because that's how much damage and, cell wall damage and immune damage they're experiencing. So the way you deal with sensitive people is if what they have is more megaspore, they just open the capsule and try a half a capsule every other day. If that bloats them or causes any GI symptoms, then they divide that dose in half, and they keep having it down until they can tolerate it and move it up. If you get that 1% person out there who cannot tolerate a pinch of the powder, a megaspore, then those folks, you want to start with just 1 spore, the Bacillus subtilis, and start them with a half a cap every other day. And then work them up to the 2-spore probiotic, Restore Flora. And then graduate them to megaspore, because you're training their immune system. You're improving their immune system. That's what these spores have been in the human digestive tract since the dawn of man. If you don't get spore exposure as an infant, you will develop immune deficiencies. That's how important they are to training our immune system. They are synergistic organisms that we need. All right, this just more things that the megaspore will do. This is the groundbreaking study that put us on the map. This is what turned the probiotic industry on its head. And we went after the underlying symptom of all chronic illness, and that's metabolic endotoxemia. We reduced the lipopolysaccharide in a healthy population of college students that had no symptoms. And that's important to realize that without the spores, these students were steadily producing more and more lipopolysaccharide. More than likely, this is the beginning, the onset of their lifelong gut problems. They've left home, mom's not cooking for them, they're staying up too late, not sleeping, drinking alcohol, the typical college student. So the overall...
Lots of coffee with sugar.
Exactly. Living off of ramen noodles and popcorn, right? So the overall difference that you can make in these individuals' life is 60%. So it's life-changing.
Wow.
And we did not check the lipopolysaccharide. There were 30 other analytes that we looked at. Some came into significance in 30 days, some in 60, and some in 90. And at the beginning, when I showed you all that research, that's where those studies have come from. That now we're going back, looking at how much it lowers triglycerides more than a drug, how much it, helps with insulin production better than a drug, how much it helps with acne better than a drug. I mean, these are very significant results that are coming out. By the time all that research is done, we'll be the most researched probiotic company on the planet. This is one of the first papers now. We should be able, if a product truly heals the gut, we should be able now to go back to actual conditions and show improvement. And this is one of the first. So we're taking irritable bowel, and sure enough, that megaspore demonstrates the most profound improvement in IBS severity score. And that's what we should expect when it's truly healing the gut. Here's a study on liver failure. You know, you fail a liver by overdosing in acetaminophen, and then you look for recovery. And sure enough, Megaspore worked better than milk thistle, you know, the go-to on herbs.
Wow, amazing.
Exactly. So, and all these other effects and improvements with glutathione and zonulin and anti-inflammatory. HU58,
Wow.
this is just one of the spores. Here we show just one spore is going to reduce interleukin-6 by 45% and TNF-alpha by 55%. Here's that Restore Flora. Again, I said there's some application used for this. It's very conservative. You don't have time to titrate someone up on Megaspore, pop them on Restore Flora, and it's already there when they're taking the antibiotics to start cleaning up the mess that the antibiotics cause. So that's the first step. You want to get them on the spores in some combination so that they're getting the dysbiosis dealt with. And that's real important because, you know, when you look, we've learned a lot from our BioMFX kit in that you can see that dysbiotic environment unconjugates amino acids, estrogen, bile salts, recycles estrogen, recycles toxins, and creates toxic byproducts. So that's why the first step is get the dysbiosis dealt with. The second step is feed those keystone strains, and that's what we do with MegaPre, and that is those specific oligosaccharides derived from corn, kiwi, and milk. No, these products do not contain corn or milk. And unfortunately, the FDA doesn't know the difference between contains and derives from. So when your patients say, I can't have milk, I can't have corn, you could say, but you can have this product because there's no corn or milk in it. This is a highly refined molecule of oligosaccharides from those food particles, but has no food particles in it, and it's not immunogenic. So someone that's sensitive to corn can still have it or milk. And it's extremely important because here we have a SHINE test showing the symbiotic relationship between how important you start with the Megaspore and it jumpstarts those keystone strains, and then the MegaPre feeds them. And here's the results. You can increase those keystone strains by up to 80 to 140%. And then I'll emphasize again, that's your end game. You want to get a good colony of these keystone strains, not just surviving, but thriving, because they're what hold everything intact in the long run. So that's why our emphasis on keystone strains. The third step in that third month is Megamucosa. 3 primary ingredients in Megamucosa. The first is IgG2000, which is so important that we also have it available as a standalone capsule form. Its job is to neutralize pathogens, bacteria, viruses, and toxins. And it is a concentrated immunoglobulin of G, M, A, and D. It's, you know, has more immunoglobulins in it than colostrum without all of the nasty actual milk antigens. And this is how the mechanism, how it works. It takes the burden off a secretory IgA because it binds to these offenders and signals the immune system to take care of them. Each one of these antigens have a standalone clinical trial, so you can look at the papers to see that how it binds to these and how much it binds. Very well studied. It's a very well established product. Another nutraceutical company has it. It was the flagship that started Zymogen and Numedica in the beginning. They don't have it anymore, but it's a very helpful product.
Wow.
And again, it's part of Megamucosa. It's in the powder form in Megamucosa, but also Megamucosa has the amino acids that's important for that thick gelatinous blue coating. I don't think it's blue in your gut, but for our purposes, it's blue on our diagram, and that's the mucin 2. So it's going to give those amino acids to the goblet cells to make that barrier. And then the citrus polyphenols, very important as an antioxidant to stop that inflammatory cascade and oxidative stress. It also helps with diversity of the microbiome. They love those polyphenols. This is the study that shows that it's these 4 amino acids that will increase the colonic mucin synthesis by 95%. So very significant and very important part of that formula. This paper just underlines the importance of sealing up that intestinal barrier. And I'll show that to you again. This is it. The genesis of autoimmune disease, of inflammatory bowel disease, of systemic inflammation, of food sensitivities. It all comes down to this point right here. So this, again, talks about the quorum sensing that we already went over, just highlights the intelligent modulation of the spores and the prebiotic as being like fertilizer to feed those keystone strains, and the megamucosa to really seal up, to seal the deal. So you've got the gut, you're going to heal it and you're going to seal it. So that's the 3-month program. It'll take 3 bottles of the Megaspore, 2 canisters of the Mega Pre, and 1 canister of the Megamucosa. This prebiotic also comes as capsules. So if there's any ingredient in there, the sweetener, the natural flavor, whatever, then they have an option. So some people love the flavor and they love to drink it. So you get, to let them choose. Now, the rest of these products are tools in your tool bag because every single person's microbiome is different. And when you start, recognizing, okay, this person has reflux, it's the number one thing that's keeping them up. That's the only thing they're focused on. They need to heal their gut, but all they can handle is one product. Then this is the product for them. This is MegaGuard. It helps with the bile flow, which is one of the primary reasons people have SIBO, because SIBO is antimicrobial, and when their bile doesn't flow, they have an overgrowth in their upper intestinal tract. GutGuard has high flavonoids that reduce the H. pylori, and the ginger root is a great kinetic for the motility of the stomach and the upper intestinal tract. So great with constipation and just getting things moving, because remember, if you've got dysbiosis and the bile's not flowing properly, the dysbiotic organisms will unconjugate the bile and recirculate the toxins, just like they unconjugate estrogen and recirculate estrogen for estrogen dominance, just like they'll unconjugate amino acids and create toxic byproducts. So real important to keep things moving, keep the bile moving, and keep the person regular. And this is showing all the bells and whistles of the research and how it works and why it's important. The Mega, everyone has fish oils, but not everyone had fish oils that were really focused on anti-inflammatory molecules and told you how many there were. So we set the bar, we quantitate the amount of PRMs, and we quantitate the DPA. So we've raised the bar. All other companies have to now, meet that standard. And so this is truly an anti-inflammatory omega. And then the rest of these are all the bells and whistles for a highly purified omega in order to compete on this market. Mega Mycobalance is our antifungal. And its 2 key ingredients is undecanoic acid derived from castor oil beans, very antifungal, 6 times better than caprylic acid, and bee propolis. This is, you can tell your patients, this is why beehives don't get overgrown in fungus and get viruses, because bee propolis is very antifungal and antiviral. Everybody has candida. It's all about how strong your immune system is at keeping it at bay. And keeping in mind, if you have candida, you've made your immune system very vulnerable. You'll have many more opportunistic viruses, parasites, and overgrowths. So, and if, a person goes through a stressful event, many times it's, going to be candida that is going to raise its ugly head first. So here's how the undecanoic acid works. different than other antifungals because it stops the hypha formation. Hypha are the roots. The roots dig down, grow down into the epithelial cells and damage those tight junctions. Candida, even by itself, can cause different leaky gut, metabolic endotoxemia. Other antifungals act like they're mowing the lawn, but they leave the roots and it grows back. So this way you stop the root formation, it can't attach, and it just goes on through. So real important mechanism there. And then again, the B propolis, a lot of my mold toxicity practitioners like this product primarily for the B propolis because it's great with those EBV, HPV, and HSV. Wheat rescue, because Tom O'Brien, as you know, is the guru of wheat and gluten and gliadin.
Yes.
Everybody has inflammation from wheat. It's just a matter of how damaged is your gut already, whether you'll manifest it. So this is his latest and greatest formula. And we've added the spores so you get the added benefit of the immune reactivity of the beta defensin and the immune support to stop the damage that the wheat has caused. And then I'm sure you're familiar on how the wheat sets up and can cause leaky gut in itself and how damaging that is to the nervous system. So,
yes.
Yes. All right. Megaquinone and Megamax or Myomax. This is one of my favorites.
Well.
Have you read the calcium paradox by Dr. Blue? She's a Canadian. Great book, well worth the read. I think it. Anyway, the calcium paradox. This is during the time when conventional docs were telling women to take 1,500 milligrams of calcium for their bone health, and then all of a sudden, these women were having heart attacks. So, and then it got worse when they added vitamin D. So what they realized is that D, mobilizes the calcium, but vitamin K2 is the bus driver. So that was the first time K2 came onto the scene. But what they didn't realize is that your microbiome uses K2. It's an energy source. You look at the scientific name here for K2 is menaquinone. That quinone aspect of the K2 works in the electron transport chain of mitochondria. So it's the energy source for the bacteria of our gut. And the gut bacteria produce K2 for that reason. But if you don't take at least 300 micrograms, 100 micrograms is going to be sucked up just from your gut. And that's all that most supplements have in them. So that was the first thing that was wrong, is manufacturers were not putting enough. The second problem was they were using forms that were not stable. MK4 is not stable. Synthetic forms are not stable. So there's a stability issue. And also what you fermented on is an issue. We ferment on chickpeas, which very few people are sensitive to chickpeas. Other manufacturers fermented on soy, which many people are sensitive to. So here's what I like about the K2.
Me.
Yes, it's one of the top allergens. So here's what's important to know about K2. There are K2 dependent receptors throughout our body. And for instance, if you get calcium deposits on your beta cells, it's going to reduce your insulin synthesis and lead to diabetes. If you get calcium deposits on your neurons, it's going to reduce your neurotransmitters and cause neurological problems. If you get calcium deposits, again, in your muscles, it reduces your energy output and causes cramps. Calcium deposits, interrupting, the adipose tissue, which is an endocrine organ in itself, and you can increase the mitochondria to increase fat burning. And our sex organs, again, whatever's using up a lot of energy, like our heart muscle, where mitochondria are, in very densely populated, you're going to need more K2. In the testes, it's needed for testosterone production. And one thing they left off of here in sperm, it's important for sperm motility. Again, a lot of mitochondria, a lot of energy burned up there. So important for fertility. So a lot of application here. And what's great about this, clinically, you can see the results. If you've got someone with high blood pressure, most of the time it's because there's calcium deposits in their vascular tissue causing their heart to work harder. And you reduce, you ionize that calcium, you mobilize it out of their vascular system back into their bones, and their blood pressure naturally drops because their heart doesn't have to work so hard.
Wow.
Kidney stones.
That's why I need to get my mom on.
Exactly. And people that have, calcium issues and they're forming kidney stones. We had people taking pictures of gravel in the toilet because they were so excited that they passed their kidney stones without a problem. And this is real important. And as you know, passing a kidney stone for a man is excruciating. So we have a calcium deposit problem in this country, and that's causing rapid aging. The aging process is us turning to slowly to stone. Our muscles become rigid, inflexible, and that's all calcium building up in our tissue, wrinkling and immobilizing us. So this is a great way to remove all that calcium. Okay, and so we have two different formulas. This formula is just the K2. And we had to look, there's so much research out there on K2. We had to find an area that was not well researched. So we found one in cardiac output and had a terrific results. In any percent increase that you can do with cardiac output is huge. And we had a whopping 12.5% increase. So this is enough to give an athlete a competitive edge for professional athletics. It's enough to help the elderly get more out of their exercise. And it's great for all age groups. It's good for developing bones, muscle, and tissue for kids, for middle-aged who are trying to exercise, or even competitive athletes, and for the elderly. So this is the two formulas and how they compare. The first one, I would start everybody on megaquinone because it has the calcium, it has the magnesium, it has the zinc in it, and a little K1, because the body, if the buckets of K1 aren't filled, it'll convert K2 to K1. So we put a little K1 in there to stop that reaction. And this is great for someone for about 3 months. And then by then you've got them eating healthier. You probably have them on other supplements. You don't want to double up on the magnesium and the zinc. So you've got this Myomax that just has the K2 in it. So again, and there's so many, when you read that calcium paradox book, you'll see that the K2 has an involvement in cancer, in diabetes, in cardiovascular disease. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The only rub you might have is when you deal with a cardiologist. Some of them are still out there preaching no leafy vegetables, no K supplements, blah, blah, blah. Basically just call me. I will talk to them, because many of them have forgotten their biochemistry and, forget K1 is the vitamin K that deals with blood clotting factors, and that's made in the liver. K2 is extrahepatic. It does not deal with the blood clotting factors. And if they really want to do their patient a service, they will adjust the patient's INRs to a healthy diet with green leafy vegetables and supplements to get better results. But, I'll go head to head with them.
I just had one of my mom's doctors. Yeah. I just had one of my mom's doctors tell her the same thing. Don't take the vitamin D with the K2 in it, because it was clogging our blood clotting. And I said, no, Mom, I think he's confused. So I sent her the link, and she showed it to her doctor because he had it wrong. Yeah.
Perfect.
They get confused.
They do. And they kind of, like everybody, they kind of get in a rut with their speech, and they say the same thing over and over. And it just takes someone to gently nudge them in the right direction. So I'm really glad that you did that.
Yeah.
And I can copy you on this presentation as well to share it with you. And you are more than welcome to share any of this information as well. Okay, so that's
Excellent.
the story.
I love the diagrams, everything made very simple.
Yes, yes. Phytospore was born because all of our practitioners would reach out and say, our patients want to know if they can give Megaspore to their cat, their dog, their horse, their pig, you know, you name it. And of course you can, but it's always great to have studies behind it. So that's why you saw that leaky gut study we're doing in dogs. This is our first label on a dog. And this actually, cats can use this formula too. It's got 2 of the spores that are great for cats and dogs. It has pediococcus, which is great. The number one reason cats and dogs go to the vet is because of skin issues. So this organism is great for that. So we will come out with a cat label. So if it bothers the cat, just let them know their own is coming soon. Okay. So here's, you know, all the things it's good for in dogs, and the preliminary results are showing very similar to human. It's reducing that lipopolysaccharide in the dysbiotic dogs. It's reducing, you know, lipopolysaccharide in the healthy dogs to prevent the onset of gut issues. So the spores, it's just showing you that, again, the specific mechanisms that it's doing in that formula, and that pediococcus, that and how it's helping the skin. Now, megacidin is the first of a trio of immune products. And of course, everyone is talking about the immune system right now. And my opinion is the stronger your immune system is will determine everything. It's more important than a mask. It's more important than a vaccine. It's more important than anything, is optimize your immune system. So here is the throat spray, and we see if you've used biocidin in the past. Have you used this formula from, I think it's American, okay. So yeah, so we just put the 2 together, and what we like about biocidin in this herbal mix is their research showing that it will increase the oral secretory IgA by 66% in 10 minutes. So this is a fast-acting, important, and to be able to carry this around with you, say before you get on an airplane. I thought there was something about travel, but you know, this is, people, you know, are freaking out about social distancing and everything, where if you actually know your immune system is heightened at that point, it's going to be your better defense. And then the spores are in there to help with the second part of the immune function, and that is what's happening in the gut. So the spores are helping increase the beta defensin, which are basically the bullets. So secretory IgA are like the cops. They grab the offender, the criminal, and they take it to the gut, to the M cells, which is the interrogation room. And then the beta defensin is basically the executioner. So you want to cover all the parts of the immune system. So this is great for the most, you know, you're getting contact through your nose and through your mouth. So you want to heighten the immune system there. And your immune system is your whole GI tract from mouth to anus. So you've got to have protection for each section of it. So you've got the total gut restoration part covered. Remember, you want to lower the background noise, the static, the white noise, so that your immune cells can hear, see, sense the pathogen. And the spray is going to be key for increasing the physical barrier, which is the first part of the defense, and that spray is heightening that secretory IgA. So the other 2 formulas Megamune is meant as a daily support, as a as a preventative, as a prophylactic during flu and cold season. And then the megavirin is important for the first signs of infection. And it's meant as a, a loading dose to really focus on the infection itself. All right, so it's targeted at the three primary areas of the immune system: the first line of defense, the innate for the inflammatory reaction, and the adaptive for the anti-inflammatory reaction, or the memory part of it. And we recognize that these are the cells that are mobilizing the macrophages and the dendritic cells that will phagocytize the offender, but they also create a digital response mechanism, which is through the toll-like receptors that they take to the adaptive immune system to transfer that information to create a memory. But these cells cannot work well when they can't find the offenders or they can't create that digital copy. And that's where inflammation gets in the way from the gut. So lower the gut inflammation, use the herbs to heighten the surveillance abilities of these cells to optimize your immune system. So that's the plan. And the Megamune does that through this combination of herbs here. And it's intended, again, for daily use. It's working on all three of those areas: the physical barrier, the innate, and the adaptive. And it's basically for functional readiness. It's priming the immune system, saying, basically, be on guard, be on guard. And it's, improving the surveillance system. So you got the watchers at the gate. It's detoxifying, cleaning up cellular debris, removing distractions, and it supports the health and diversity of the microbiome as well through the polyphenols. The megavirin, again, through this combination of herbs, it's focused on promoting that macrophage and interferon production. Again, that's the surveillance system. The reducing the inflammatory cytokine production. So there's that dampening effect. You fire up the immune system and then you got to cool it down so that you can eliminate the white noise. And it has specific prevention for viral entry in the cells because of certain herbs, and it helps break down the viral envelope. Again, it's helping with surveillance, it's helping detoxify and clean up and remove distractions, and it's de-escalating or calming down or quieting the immune system to restore that homeostasis. This shows the specific ingredients where they overlap. You've got a lot of zinc. When you're doubling up, that's a lot of zinc, but you're only doing that for 15 days. So it's maximizing the immune system, stop the megavirin, and at that point, the infection's over. You've got registered trademarked herbs at therapeutic doses, which is really important. I have seen immune protocols that have a different bottle for every single one of these ingredients. But this has therapeutic doses in just 2 bottles. So good thing to know. The Megamune dosing is 3 capsules per day with or without food. And there's a month worth in the bottle. So I would say, you probably have 3 months worth of flu and cold season. So it's important to have it on hand. And then the megavirin, you're taking 3 capsules twice a day with or without food, on starting with at first signs of symptoms and continuing to take it for 15 days until the supply runs out. Finish the bottle, even if the symptoms subside. Again, you still have functions that are, many of these organisms can go into a stealth mode, and you want to be sure and root it all out. The ideal patient: anyone during flu and cold season, frequent travel, high stress, poor sleep, comorbidities that lower the immune system. So this is real key. Everybody is probably, the ideal patient is everybody. Everybody is under high stress. We're being told, different things every day. It's like a roller coaster. But one of the things that keeps coming back is those that are suffering the most with the COVID viral infection are those with comorbidities, because they have high level of systemic inflammation. So it's important to get the gut under control, reduce that systemic inflammation, and prime their immune system in order to handle any type of assault. And to me, this is your very best defense. Do not depend on social distancing, a mask, or a virus. Depend on the strength of your immune system. The end.
Yes, great presentation. I love the way the slides read and the delivery. It makes it very easy to explain to people a complicated yet simple way of expressing it.
Super, super. Well, I'm going to add you to my list of folks. Let's see if you come up in my, there you are. I'm going to send this presentation to you, so you got that handy.
Okay.
And I hope you'll reach out with any questions, you know, text, email, whatever works for you.
Definitely. I was looking at the order form.
Which form?
Oh, the order form, if there were, let me go back, if there were, I think you sent me how many, if we had to order like per case or or individuals, or what the minimum was on ordering.
Yeah, good question. There is a mix and match. When you get on your account, it'll be more obvious, because you'll see on the right-hand side, there's a table that shows you anything that has the same wholesale price, and most of them are $36. You can mix and match up to the next volume discount. So the first volume discount is at 6 bottles. So with one protocol of the total gut restoration, you have 3 bottles of Megaspore, 2 canisters of the Pre, and 1 of the Mega Mucosa. That's 6 bottles. That automatically triggers a 5% discount. If you have 2 people that you want to put on that program, you double that, you're at 12 bottles, it triggers a 15% discount. So that's something, you know, important to kind of remember to get the maximum. At 24 bottles, it's free shipping. Every once in a while, you'll see an email announcement of a sale where there is, you know, a code that you would enter. They don't give me any heads up. They don't give me the code in advance, and I can't tell you when it's going to happen. So your guess is as good as mine. If I do hear, I try to send out some text messages real quick to say, just watch your email so that you don't miss it. And that's about all that I can do to help you on those. There's Patient Direct. So if you've got out of town, out of state, or you're doing virtual, sometimes it's nice to, you know, sign up for Patient Direct. It gives you a link that you can email to people, and they can order from our website, and it generates commissions for you. And you can put that link on your website.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
And you can drop.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask about that, because there's some people like from out of the area. Okay, I also do a little bit with energetics, and so that we drop ship there. That works really good. So are you a practitioner also, or you just work with a company?
Yeah, I had a practice. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist and a traditional naturopath. And my husband was a traditional naturopath and a hematology. My husband recently passed away, so we're all still recovering from that. Long story, it's freaky. They don't know what.
My apologies.
It wasn't COVID. He did have a throat cancer that we dealt with last year about this time. And his PET scan said he was cancer-free.
Wow.
He got jaundice on a Sunday. I took him to the emergency room on a Monday. He was gone on Tuesday. They don't have a clue why his organs failed, one right after the other. It's still a mystery. So,
wow.
yeah. But I'm very focused on, the immune system and
Wow.
trying to educate people because we are under an extreme immune assault.
Yeah.
And we've got to get a handle on this.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
Yes,
these
definitely. So
immune
then
products,
if I have like, if I, mhm.
well, I just say the immune products came out after he was gone. So, but go ahead. Sorry for the delay.
Wow. So if I have, if I have a particular person I'm working with and I have, some questions or things, would that be something you would handle, or is there another number company, helping us, guide us to make sure we're, if we're stuck on a recommendation with them?
Yes, contact me. Love it, love it, love it. Want to help. There are experts for the BioFX stool test. So I can help if they get backed up to go over the results on that printout. But do you do gut stool testing?
Yes, I've been using Vibrant Wellness. Are you familiar with that company?
Yes. Yes, and they have some.
So that was my other question, is how that is.
Yeah, and the Zoomer has some great gluten and gliadin tests that we don't have, but when it comes to microbial identification, nobody can beat us because we do whole genomic sequencing.
Right.
Other companies use PCR-16S, which is just a technique.
I think the phone cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I tried to pause to make sure I'm not talking over you.
Yes, it cut. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it kind of had a lag, so I got part of that. So my question was, okay, yeah, I've been using Vibrant Wellness. That's what I've learned from Tom O'Brien. So that's mostly what I've been using. And then another practitioner I work with, she was using the GI map, but I did kind of like a comparison. So they sent me like a comparison because I want to be able to show the person I'm working with, like, these are your different options, because it also comes down to pricing for some of them on which labs will run. So what is the pricing on the lab?
Yeah, the BioFX is $299.
I didn't see that anywhere. Okay, good.
And it's whole genomic sequencing that used to be thousands of dollars and take a couple of months. We've got it down to $299 and 5 weeks. So it's the only way to get to strain level.
Wow.
Others are at best 30% accurate. Ours is 99% accurate.
Okay, because usually sometimes we'll run the the wheat zoomer with the gut zoomer as a combo, and that would give us kind of like a sneak peek. But then I guess this would give us then more in depth for, like, okay, what specific strands, or I'm kind of wondering if maybe not to even do the gut zoomer combo with them and just have them do this one, because we already know they're going to have some issues.
Yes, and I've seen that gut zoomer say that they have too many bacillus in, and it's completely inaccurate. So that, you get that back, and then they're saying, well, why did you put me on the bacillus spores? My zoomer says I've got too many, and it's false. So yeah, I would just have them save their money on the gut part of it. In the BioFX, they will see community interactions. They'll see if they have organisms that will unconjugate their estrogen and their bile salts. They'll see if they're metabolizing their carbohydrates and their proteins well, so that their diet is correct. There's like 10 different modules with the latest information that you can actually look into scientific research in universities and pharmaceutical companies and government agencies, they're using this test. They don't use gut zoomers and GI maps and Genova. They use this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was getting a text. It cut out just a little bit. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, the institutions, pharmaceutical research, university research, and government agencies use our test, the BioFX, not Genova, not Zoomer, not GI maps.
Wow. Right. Wow. That's good to know. It's really good to know. Wow. Well, this has been very, very enlightening. Tracy, because I didn't get into this because I was healthy. I had all these issues years ago. So it's been, climbing out of the grave, literally. And now that's why I help people, and I have doctors who send me people who say, we don't know what's wrong with them, but there's no diagnosis, but they're not well. Maybe you can help them find something with your food issue. And
exactly.
That's how I try to work there.
Well, I've worked with practitioners enough to know that the most passionate practitioners are those that came into this industry because of their own health problems. And I have the same story. I had a 3-year-old that they wanted to put on Ritalin.
Wow.
So, I have my own, journey with my son and myself, and I changed my career in order to try to make a difference for him. So, it's important, and I'll send you a video of our last nerd meeting. Every Thursday, we have a nerd meeting. It's just for practitioners that want to bounce ideas off of each other. The first Thursday of the month, I have a guest speaker, and the last one, Christina, did a real interesting talk, and she talked about her journey. I mean, she was basically bedridden and dying. So it's important to get encouragement from other practitioners. Yeah, that you're not in this alone. We're all kind of fighting that same struggle against, the conventional world that unfortunately our parents and our neighbors think is the way to go. And we're saying, no.
Yeah, that's where I am with my mom. But right now, at least, she's listening a little bit. I did run, because she's still on the wheat. And I'm like, Mom, I know that's part of the real big issue. She has the gut issues and the diarrhea and, everything. And then her blood pressure and just things are just going south pretty bad. So I did run a wheat zoomer on her just last week and a food sensitivity so she could see, we could measure the amount of zonulin that I know is going to be showing up just to get a kind of a baseline. And I almost ran the gut zoomer, but I decided not to because I knew I was going to meet with you. So I'm going to run that on her first. She'll be the first one I do. And, and there's some things that I can take from that, Dr. O'Brien has, but there's some things I can't. I don't know because I do the muscle testing, and that's what's worked well with me of how I find things. And that's why I'm very open to all brands, all things, because everyone's different and the protocol is similar, but not the same for everyone, as we know. But I was the same way. I'd love to meet that doctor, the one that was sharing the stories, because it was 9 years ago is when I got out of the hospital. I went from 170 pounds to 92 pounds, and I was unhealthy at both extremes. And they couldn't find anything wrong with me, of course, but I was just like literally dying. And they sent me home to get my affairs in order until my husband, they couldn't figure it out. And I was at a university hospital there in Dallas.
Wow.
And so I just, luckily I just, I did a phone consult with Sonovi, which is an American hospital in Mexico. And they just quickly said, how many foods are you down to? And I said, how did you know that? Like you haven't even seen me.
Right.
And I was down to 3 things I could eat without any autoimmune reaction.
Yeah.
And I had to start like really, really backwards in my my gut was just, it was like literally caved in. It was like not working. And so they told me I wasn't well enough to travel, and they said, but we're going to refer you to the man that trains us. He's in the United States. And I did the phone consult with Dr. O'Brien. And even him, he was like, oh, so excited, you know, he goes, you're what I write about. And I'm like, I don't even know if what you're talking about is my issue, you know, like, you know, like it was hard to trust. Like at that point, I spent $250,000
Wow.
in ER visits, MRIs, colonoscopies, endoscopies, you know, week stays at the hospital. Just, it was crazy. And he told me, he said, you know, I want you to take my program that I've started, you know, as a gluten practitioner. And I'm like, I'm not a doctor. And he's like, you don't understand. People like you can help more people than any doctor I ever trained. You don't have to be a doctor to help people get tested, to then help them learn how to change the lifestyle to get off the weed and off the food. And he said, so if you live, he said, so if you live through this, I really see you helping people. And I said, wait a minute, back up. If I live through this, he goes, you don't know how sick you are.
Wow.
And that hit me like a dagger.
Yeah.
And so I took the program only because, you know, I couldn't afford his time at that, you know, personal time. And this was like 9 years ago. And so I took his program and never intended to do anything with it but help myself. And then it was just kind of like when people witnessed me get better, my doctors witnessed me get better, then people started coming. And I think I did one of those summits online, the anti-anxiety summit. And it was then, you know, people were like calling me from everywhere. I took down my website because I got like freaked out, like, I'm not ready for that.
Right.
So I've just been mostly helping. It's just all word of mouth, and that, you know, you stay busy enough, but it's good to connect with other people from all over so that you can refer them out, because this work is very, very one-on-one, and to help them stay on track and not get discouraged, because it can be very discouraging when I felt I was alone and the only weird one, couldn't eat all these foods or had all these gut issues. And now today, Thursday, I'll be doing a call with our local university here. You know, we're going to do a call on local food and eating and stuff. But I just thought, wow. And I had to write a bio for it. And as I'm typing, I'm going, wow, I have done a lot in the last years. We forget where we've come from. Yes. And how we're still here and why we're still here. And I believe, like you said, it's so that we can help others and understand them. So, well, I'm glad that I don't know how I didn't really, I don't know why I hadn't really connected sooner, but you know, it wasn't the right timing. Right. Now my daughter's back in college. So I'm ready to do more now. I'd like to use this line and the testing as more part of, you know, I do my work through ministry. It's more of a medical ministry. It's well-being ministry. For my time, I've never charged. It's all been on donation base, but everybody has to pay for their own testings and get their own nutrients. And I just am starting a program called the Nutrition Bank. It's kind of like the food bank. Yeah. But it's to help those who don't have jobs right now because they're so sick, right, you know, that they can't even work, but to raise some funds to be able to get, you know, even if it's for a month or two, give them a boost start to get them on the nutrients where they're either paid for or paid half for, you know, 50% or something, where to help them get started, because that's where I find that most people are at. It's like they're so, they can't, when it comes to supplements, they have no money, they say. Right. But they don't understand the significance of the nutrient is more important than the medicine that they're, you know, doing. So one day I think, you know, things are, I mean, we've come a long ways, even in the 10 years. So when people like you, like, gosh, the years that you've been doing this, it's amazing. And I applaud your passion and the work that this company has done. You know, so I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'll send I have the gluten practitioner certification with Dr. O'Brien, and then I did go to the IIN Institute also. So I think I'll send that in as well.
Yes.
And I'm applying for, but have not decided for sure to do the Quantum University to go continue to get like, I'm looking at different programs for alternative health practitioner or something, because I think in this area you have to have, you know, something more, initials behind the name. So that's what I'm looking at right now at Quantum University. I don't know if you're familiar with, or if you have any recommendations of other programs you think are good out there to continue.
Well, you're in the Dallas area, right?
Actually, I'm in South Texas. I'm way far, right near Mexico, 6 miles from Mexico. I'm the tip of Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to Dallas to the hospital. That's where they took me.
I see.
Seeking help. I went all over the country. I was at Sun Flight, yeah. But
well,
yeah, so I'm way down south. So I'm looking at virtual classes.
Okay. Well, I was living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for 30 years. And at that point, back then, the most reputable certification in clinical nutrition was the CNCB board, and it was right there in Addison, Texas. And online, if you go to IAACN, so it's also an International Association of American Clinical Nutritionists, IAACN.org, that's where I got my clinical nutrition. And I had a bachelor's of bacteriology, and it is a postgraduate. So you have to have a bachelor's in something scientific related. So I don't know if that applies.
Yeah.
That's
well,
the one.
Home economics. Yeah.
Okay, super. Well, I would look into that one, just because, I mean, it's Texas and it's strong, and it'll get you ability to get blood testing and to be for a lot of these tests, you got to have certain certifications. Some of them don't apply, but the CCN will open the door, I think, more for you than many of the others. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and could you repeat the name again? I'm sorry, I didn't have my pen with me. What was the name again?
IAACN. So IAACN, it stands for International American Association of Clinical Nutritionists. .org. And it will get you a CCN, a Certified Clinical Nutritionist certification.
Great.
They do
That's
the
what
course.
I'd love, because with Sanders process,
Yeah, they do it online.
Awesome. Yeah, if they can do it online right now, that would be the best thing. And I think everybody's gone online anyway nowadays.
Exactly. I mean, 30 years ago, I had to fly to 5 different cities, pay for the hotels and the flights, and take the exams flying around to get this. And it was a pain.
Wow. Wow. Yep. Yep. And I've attended a lot of different things. My friend, I kind of help work underneath her, but she does the standard process, and they had that clinical nutrition, but you had to go there also, you know.
Yep.
So this is better if it's online. I will definitely look at that. Well, thank you, Tracy.
Hey, as a final word, I don't know if you can see the screen, but the BioMFX, the stool kit, has its own website, and it has a bunch of resources on it. So I'm just going to pass that on to you. It's biomfx.com, BIOMEFX.com. Some great videos on there.
Okay.
Even has a cute video on how to collect your feces. So you can send that to a patient, and it takes away poop fear.
Okay, great, good. So we would just order from here and it would get sent directly, drop shipped to them.
Yeah, so you want to sign up with the patient direct.
And okay, do we pay and then we bill the
if you sign up for
okay.
patient direct, then they can register and pay their own kit. If you order, so that's with patient direct.
Okay.
If you order from your website, then you would have to register the kit and pay and then bill them. Or use their credit card
Okay. Yeah,
when you pay on your website.
With, okay. Yeah, I've done that mostly with the other lab. Well, great. Well, I think I've got everything pretty much answered. I'll send in that to the department that sent me that email. I'll
Super.
send them the 2 certificates. And
yeah. And if you have any trouble, let me know. Sometimes you might have to send me the certificates and then I upload them and send them to her and she uploads them. So just let me know if there's a snag, if it's anything to do with the actual link that uploads it.
Okay, sounds good.
And I sent you the video of last week's.
You also.
Sure. I sent you the video of last week's nerd meeting of Christina. And I think you'll be interested in the eVox too. If you get someone who's been extremely traumatized, you know, rape, murders, suicides in their life, sometimes they'll manifest clinical symptoms because of emotional problems. And Christina uses eVox, so that's a cool thing to know about. And then I'll upload this video and send it to you as well.
And you said eVox, that's E and then VOX?
Yes, E for emotion, Vox for voice, and that's through the Zyto energy medicine medical device. And she'll tell you about it on her Zoom.
Awesome. Good. More things to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to see what other type, because people like, you know, like scans and things, because they've got to see something, you know, when we're talking like more about energy medicine.